All right, bye, guys. We are back. Roast and Toast Baseball Radio. I think we're on episode 7. Is that right?
Six,
6? 6?
7. We're
But
moving.
whatever. I don't know.
Not a
Um,
math pod.
Not a math pod, exactly. But we have a lot to cover. Obviously, we're still in the opening week, technically, of
Mhm.
MLB season, and there's been a lot of stuff that has already happened in the first week of the season. So our first topic, kind of going to talk about some of the hot starts that we've seen from some of the teams around the league. So let's get into what do we think about the Yankees' hot start?
Yanks are rolling. It's crazy. Yanks are 6-1 to start the year. Just had a big extra inning win against Diamondbacks. Had a crazy ending in that game. I don't know if you guys noticed. They intentionally walked their eighth batter to have the pitcher
Mm.
bat because they lost their DH, and it worked out for them. They have the fifth best bullpen ERA. It was even better before today's game. They've been able to come behind in these games. Soto's looked awesome. Volpe's looked great too. It's crazy to see.
I mean, I think Soto did something to that clubhouse because ever since he's been there, he added some emotion. Like he's kind of being him. I kind of love what he brings to. I mean, obviously he would bring that to any clubhouse, but specifically to the Yankees, kind of going against their status quo of like being a businessman. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's just kind of doing his thing, and I think that's kind of great for the Yankees right now, especially with their young players they have right now. It's kind of like another life for them. So it's kind of exciting to see, even though not a Yankees fan, but still it's kind of cool. And seeing how well Soto's doing right now is kind of nice. And I want to see how like he progresses through the year too, because I want to see like his numbers by the end of the year. I'm going to be interested in that.
We haven't even seen him at Yankee Stadium yet. Like, I want to see how he's going to adjust to that park. It's going to be pretty interesting and pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it has been, like Tom said, there's been a jolt of energy. What do you attribute that to? It can't all be Soto, right? There's been some other new additions there as well.
I think it's just a
That's
common. I was going to say it's a combination of everything. I think the fact that they have a lot of new faces in that clubhouse too. They have Stroman. It's just the new look for these guys. I think they're just a new. They feel like they're rejuvenated.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. With that jolt of energy that Tom was saying and the rejuvenation that you're saying, Demetrius. Like
Mm-hmm.
adding Soto, obviously, he's one of the most talented hitters ever. And that's not saying something that's crazy. It's literally true. He's 25 and he's already, I don't know, unless he falls off a cliff tomorrow, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh
And
yeah.
um, like adding that obviously is huge. And then you add in someone like Stroman who has an edge to him, to say the least. That's different for the Yankees. And then Verdugo, too. He's got something, an edge to him as well that is not Yankee like. That's not
No.
who the Yankees usually are. So I like it for them. I hate it seeing it across town as a Mets fan, but baseball is always better when the Yankees are good. So
Mhm.
got to tip the cap, right?
You always have to. You always have to agree to that. It's just
a very true point.
Yeah.
the evil empire, as they say, is striking back.
Mhm. Yeah. But there's been a couple other teams that have had some hot starts. The Pirates, the Tigers, and the Brewers. Are there any
Hmm.
teams between those three that really catch your attention?
I think Pirates. I knew their team last year was good. I knew they had just talent. That injury to O'Neal Cruz was just brutal for them. They had a few hot months to start the year last year and just couldn't capitalize. But it's cool to see they had a good first opponent for them, the dreadful Marlins. But the guys are hitting. Key Brian Hayes batting was at 350 almost 900 OPS. Brian uh, Brian Reynolds is batting like 300. It's pretty crazy to see that these guys are, but I'm crazy at the same time as these guys are setting to form. Guys are healthy. Guys are actually producing now, which is cool to see.
Yeah.
That I agree with that completely. I mean, Michael A. Taylor too is hitting 471
Hmm.
on the year. Like he's on fire right now. And with the Pirates too, you got Paul Skeens going to be coming up soon too. Like adding him to the starting rotation, like that's going to be really fun to watch. Like I'm
Oh
excited to
yeah.
see. I'm excited to watch the Pirates for the first time in a long time.
So it sounds like both of you are kind of buying into the Pirates hype train right now.
Mm-hmm.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty. The pitching staff's good too. They got that guy James Jones that just came up that made the team out of spring training, who I believe had a scoreless outing, 10 strikeouts against the Marlins in his first start in the big leagues. Pretty crazy. Just
Mitch Keller's been solid too.
mhm.
Okay. So the question for both of you that I have is, what do you think like is going to keep this run sustainable? Not undefeated run, of course, but why do you think the Pirates are going to be able to sustain winning baseball all season long?
I heard a clip earlier. They were saying you want to compare a team to last year, compare them to the Diamondbacks. They get on base, they get scrappy. They have guys in the middle of the order who can just hit singles, just get line drives in.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there could be some sort of ability to just get on base, steal bases, and not even huge power guys, but you guys, the speed. You see O'Neill Cruz is throwing 100 from shortstop to first base. It's just these guys, their talent starting to roll into form. It seems.
It's like a collection of like the same kind of ball players put together. Like obviously O'Neill Cruz is a little bit on a different level. He's kind of just like a freak at what he can do. But like the rest of those guys, like Andrew McCutchen, contact guy, like Michael Iteda, a contact guy. Like a lot of those guys just try to put the barrel on ball and see what happens. And that's kind of fun baseball to watch for me personally, just because that's kind of how I played baseball. But I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain it throughout the year. I'm kind of just taking it week by week with them because I mean, 2 months from now, like one person gets hurt, like their whole season could be over. Sadly, knock on wood that it's not, but
Yeah, I'm with you, Tom. I agree with what you said as well, Demetrius. But I think they're going to be a better team than last year, but I don't think they are there yet. I think they could be scrappy. I think they could
Yeah,
be in wild card contention for most of the season. Um, but I think they're a couple of steps away, and it's going to be interesting uh, at the deadline or even next offseason to see what ownership is going to do to push it forward, push the team into the next level. Because when the Pirates had those great teams, the early 2010s, those teams were really good, like 97, 99 win teams in there, and they
MVP McCutcheon straight in
were playoff.
those.
They never made the big time move that would put them over the top. And
Mhm.
I'm sure that was very frustrating for Pittsburgh fans. I mean, as an outsider, it was frustrating for me to see a city like rejuvenated by good Pirates baseball. Like that's a baseball town, and
hacks.
like
Mhm.
get to go all the way. Um, so I hope that ownership does the right thing, and then you know commits to winning. But a couple of the other teams, Pirate, Tigers and Brewers. What do you think about those guys?
Tigers got another one of these young teams. They got all these prospects they drafted. They're just coming up. Spencer Torkelson, Casey Mize, Screwball looking to be healthy this year. They had also another good opponent to face the year out with the White Sox, but it seemed that they were able to just capitalize, get wins. Came into New York on Monday. Totally wasn't in attendance. Maybe I was in attendance at the Mets game. Uh, and just dominated, pitching great. And then when they needed to get runs in at the end of the game, they could. I think it's guys are able to hit. You see Mark Canna have over 1,000 OPS right now. It's very intriguing to see.
Yeah,
I agree. I love like what the Tigers are doing. I'm interested to see like when they're going to kind of bring up these prospects that they have too to add to what they're doing. Like they have a couple guys like Jace Jung. Apparently, he's been like lighting it up down there and kind of went off in spring training too. So I'm excited to see him and what he can add to the lineup. And they had another pitching prospect. I forget what his name is,
Joe.
but
Yeah,
yes, him, Joe. They were talking about like he's gonna like light it up. Apparently, like they're very very high on him. So like I want just watch and see what he can do. And he looks like a little kid. He's got like a baby face too, so it's kind of funny. But
He had a disgusting spring. His spring training was insane. I saw that. He was just popping 103 just easily.
like, get him in.
Mm. The Tigers for me, they're my central pick. So I'm very high on the Tigers. I think they have the pitching to do it, and they have a good enough lineup to make some noise in the weakest division in baseball. So
Yeah,
I think they can run with that division. But I mean, since we're going to talk about the Brewers, we did have some interesting stuff going on last week.
yeah.
Of course.
We had Jeff McNeil versus Reese Hoskins. Where are you guys with that situation?
You can't take the scumbag out of Reese.
You can't. No, you cannot. I don't know. I very much so at first was very upset with Reese Hoskins to start out the whole situation. I felt like he had a very dirty slide. And then you think about it after and you're like, well, he's making a hard play. He's making a tough play to try to break everything up. Then I get why the Mets didn't throw at him right away, because what's the pitching staff going to look like if Severino throws over his head in the first inning, gets ejected, but then it's the bad look of, oh, you threw at his head in the seventh inning. Oh, you couldn't wait. You waited all this time to do it. I just think the Mets just not anything good. And all sides, nothing is good either way.
Yeah. Tom, what are your thoughts?
I think it was kind of funny. Not like I don't want anybody to get hurt, obviously, but it was kind of fucking funny. Like, Reese Hoskins, I don't think was trying to do anything intentional. I think he was going to go in hard, but I don't think he was like intentionally trying to hurt McNeil. It kind of went spikes up a little bit. Like, I think it was just nuts how fucking Jeff reacted. Like, he went insane.
He went crazy, and because he had all like
you.
He was like, he knew he's done it before. He was like, oh, he's done this before. He's done this before. And I'm like, yeah, but like, you can't just have that in your head when you're just playing all the time. You can't just live with
the John Boy's breakdown about the Mets sliding habits.
Yeah, it's just the same thing. It's the same thing.
They don't break up double plays. They don't like they have a different interpretation of the rule, the sliding rule at second base, because they don't try and break up double plays. They just kind of veer off to the side.
That's weird as what that.
It's what I think.
The rule is you have to have connection with the bag. Even if you slide over it, you have to stay connected with the bag, which is exactly what Reese Hoskins did. You can't veer off when sliding like directly into someone. You can veer off and just avoid everything. You can't slide just sideways into somebody.
Right.
Which is just nothing of what the Mets were doing. It's like they just weren't even making an attempt.
Right. So what I think about that situation is like the Mets have this idea that they can't do that because of what happened to Ruben Tejada, which is why the rule exists in the first place. Right. So I don't know what it is, but I mean, that's the team that it happened to, right? So they must have some different idea about the rule or how they should go about sliding into second base because of the situation that happened. I mean, that was a long time ago now, like 9 years ago, but still, things stay in organizations. So I think that's
interesting take.
Yeah.
Interesting take.
But in all honesty, like the whole situation to me is kind of silly.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kind of sick of him. I kind of want him gone.
I agree.
Squirrel.
But
his swing was just ruined last year because he was so worried about the shift ban, and we come and start him batting fourth after he batted like what 60, 70 points lower than an average than he did previous year. It's just
we won't get too carried away with
no, we won't. But we're just emotionally I can be, but
we've had enough of this team over the past week.
I feel so bad. I'm so
There was
sorry.
another brawl from last week, and that was the Blue Jays versus the Rays. I think it was Jose Caballero and
Yeah,
That was
Gen-
stupid as shit too.
Genesis.
Francis Cabrera. Yeah, I don't know what was
That
going
was so.
on.
He for some reason thought the bunt was Bush League, which it wasn't. It was like what is it?
Oh,
He thought it was like a 3-run game. It was like a 3-run game or something.
Hmm.
But it's like it wasn't even like you got to get on base at that point. He's also a young player. It's not like it's like his first year in the league. The guy who did it comes in a third. Cabrera just walks up to him, and then just throws his hands at his face.
that's what I
And
mean.
Yeah, but I mean, Caballero was like right under his chin. Like, why
Yeah, he was. He was.
body?
Because originally when they came in, I think he tried to like hug him to like brace himself, but the pitcher for the Blue Jays, what was his name?
Genesis.
Cabrera.
Cabrera like threw like a little elbow into him, and that's why he got like under his chin. It was like, what the fuck? And then it was just shove central, shove central.
You know, I'm kind of sick and tired of seeing these brawls that they're not brawls. They're just like
No,
shoving matches. I don't know the last time I've seen a player throw a punch. Like, was it Amir Garrett when he charged the?
no. You're missing. We're missing one big one. You're
Which
missing Jose
one?
Ramirez one.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
But like I agree. There's not like that was a very once every 5 years, 6 years fight that you see. That's
Jose
not something that
Bautista.
happens. It's Jose Bautista, Amir Garrett. That you see Harper try to, but
That's
nothing insane.
facts.
That was crazy too. But a couple other storylines from the past week. Royce Lewis,
Dude,
Julio Teheran just signed with the Mets. So yeah, what other things are sticking out to you from the little bit of
Oh,
news?
I'll jump in the Royce Lewis thing. This guy, I feel horrible for him. He's had the worst injury luck. So I was watching the game actually when it happened when he got hurt. He just rounded third and just stopped midway through and just grabbed his quad, and you're like, yep, that's something. Turns out the Twins announced he was going to be out a month. And then the Athletic reported like the next day saying, if he misses 2 months, it's a good outcome. So this injury is a very severe strained right quad injury, and he might be out until the All-Star break, it looking like.
Oh my God.
And he has missed a lot of time. He missed all of 2021 and most of 2022. He tore his ACL and his knee twice. And then last year, which was expected to be his breakout year, he had an oblique and hamstring strains and was just played like half the season. Ay.
that sucks, man. Like they're so hot. The Twins like are so high on this kid too for like obvious reasons, but like you just hate to see it. Like that sucks. That just fucking sucks.
The continued portion of these injuries are just
Yes, that's what's
it's
like so
just
terrifying to see is like he just keeps getting hurt, and like that's just got to be brutal
I feel bad.
mentally on the kid.
I was just saying that the
Yeah,
mentals on that is just I couldn't imagine that.
I also feel bad for the Twins too because they have these two supremely talented players in Lewis and Buxton, and they're always hurt.
dude. Byron
Bucks,
Buxton
yeah.
would be so. Oh my god, dude. He'd be a
But
Hall of Famer if he was healthy already. Like for all as long as he was, he'd be a Hall of Famer
if he had
already.
if he had the numbers that he put up in his best years, which I can't recount you those years right now because how many times he's been hurt.
He's
But
played a full season. He's never played a full season. I
that's
think if you average out like a full 162 during his best years, the numbers are absurd. But he's
it's
never.
like 38 home runs, like 100 RBIs plus.
Mhm.
I know that we were talking past few weeks about like these younger guys getting contracts. Royce Lewis was not one of those. He's still on that rookie salary deal. He's not even making $1 million this year.
Ugh.
So this
Yeah.
is just brutal on so many standpoints.
Yeah, you gotta hope that somehow, some way, he can figure out a way to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's easier said than done. Some of those things you just don't get figured out sometimes.
He's still so young, but it's like you
It's out of
can't.
your control too.
It's out of control.
Yeah, yeah. So what are your biggest overreactions about teams from the past week?
The Phillies bullpen, #1 in baseball. That's absolute fucking bullshit. Sorry, that's it.
No,
That's my take. I'm done.
that that one game at the Braves, the first one, I believe, that was just, hey,
And Brogdon got DFA'd today.
did he
Or
really? Oh my
yes,
gosh.
today. Or no, yesterday. And the guy they brought up, so I forget the
Oh,
guy's
I
name.
saw this. Yeah.
The guy they brought up, he was called from AAA, so they sent him a car. They're driving him up, and he got stuck in traffic on the Schuylkill or something. And so he came, was in the 4th inning, said, "What's up, Topper?" Went to the bullpen. When he came in through 4 scoreless innings, and that's the game.
Because you're in the save technically too from that too, which is nuts.
Yes, dog. I was like, this guy's awesome.
So that's interesting to me that they DFA'd Brogdon because he's been a reliable arm for them the past 2 years, right?
Dude, he's got the yips or something. Like just the pat, like this year so far. Like what the fuck?
Hmm. That's
No,
weird.
the yips were a problem last year for him too. I remember that.
Like he's got a gross changeup, but like dude, it's so hard to explain what the yips feel like, but like
They feel like I know what they feel like.
dude, like it's the hardest thing ever. Like to just like you can't even describe it. Like it's so mental.
Yeah.
Like you feel bad, and that's why he got DFA'd. Probably he's like, "Fuck it, this kid's got the yips. We got to like work with
Yeah.
him in AAA." So I hope the best for him, and I hope he can get over it. But like,
Yeah.
damn, he was trash.
Yeah, I'm looking at his stats right now. He only threw 2 full innings and gave up 6 earned in 3 games. That's just, you come in for a third of a inning and just give up like 3 runs. That is just not great.
Any other overreactions you guys have?
The Marlins are terrible. I don't know what it is, but they just looked horrible. Like they look worse than some of these teams that were pointed out to be like these trash organizations. It's like,
Are the Marlins terrible or are the Angels good?
I think the Angels, Mike Trout's really good. Taylor Ward's good, but the Angels aren't bad. I just think, well, the one thing I don't get about the Marlins is they moved AJ Puck as a starter, and he just got lit up the past 2 games as a starter. He was their closer last year.
Yeah.
I know he's so young, but like he was a starter in Oakland, became a reliever, then closer with the Marlins after the trade, and then they just thought this year that he can be a starter because they needed more arms. Luzardo didn't look great either. He gave up a few home runs. I don't know. It's not good.
Yeah, they're 0-7.
Yeah, tough. That's tough.
Yeah, they just made the playoffs last year, man.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I guess you can't say Soler is just a big portion of their offense. Like he was, but like even guys like Jazz finally started doing some stuff after we talked bad about him. But then just,
I mean, they're down Alcantara, they're down Esteury Perez.
yeah, his arm right before the season.
They obviously didn't bring back Soler. I don't know. It's not a good look at all.
What's an overreaction you have, Will?
I think my overreaction. Dang, this is a tough one. I think I mean we were already talking about it a little bit, but I think McNeil is cooked.
Yeah,
That's actually not an overreaction.
No, it's not. The thing, it's you could see after being at that game, because I was at the game on Monday, as I had mentioned unfortunately earlier. When McNeil didn't even get the start in the 4th game of the year against a right-handed pitcher, that's a problem. Like they know that there's problems with him then. And it's not like these guys, Joey Wendell's not even better. It's like there's issues.
Joey Wendell.
Bro, embarrassing, honestly. Very embarrassing. I think my other overreaction. We didn't even talk about the no-hitter that was thrown by the Astros.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even
Yeah, seriously though. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Because their bullpen didn't get the throw.
I think the Astros are I think they might have trouble this year.
That was their only win this year, that game.
Yeah. I think they're gonna figure it out, but in the beginning of the season, they might struggle. Someone made a good point. I think it was an article in The Athletic. An executive in baseball said that they're missing their middle relievers. They lost Phil Maton, they lost Ryan Stanek, and they
Yeah.
lost another one of their reliable middle relief arms. And if they're not getting their quality starts and their starting pitchers, like 5, 6 innings, they're struggling who to bridge the rest of the game to get to Hader and Presley, who's struggled,
I was gonna say even getting to Hader these last few games hasn't even been.
and Abreu. They're struggling to get to those big arms in the bullpen. And sorry, even those big bullpen arms aren't performing as well as they have in the past. So
The fact that they're only one of the year is just a no hitter is still just very funny to me. I know his story is pretty crazy. It's just he's been jumping around the minors for years too. He's not like a top prospect for them really.
Oh.
And then he finally earned a spot in the rotation. He didn't even have one last year.
His story is awesome. I mean, he signed a 22-year-old from the Dominican. They don't sign
They
22.
don't sign that late. No.
If you're over 16, they usually just say sorry, like not gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
So the fact that he's in the major leagues is a miracle itself. And then
Wow, he had 8 years in the minors. That's crazy.
it is crazy. I mean,
Great story.
no, I mean, from what I saw, read about the game, he was throwing all 3 of his pitches like an equal amount of the time. So the Blue Jays were so off balance.
Good for him, man.
Yeah. But we have a couple more things to get to. And I think the biggest thing we have to get to, why I'm wearing the hat, is the Oakland Athletics sending Esteury Ruiz to AAA. I know it's a small sample size, but he was hitting 429, down to AAA to work on getting on base more. This is a player last year who was 4th on the team in on base percentage with 309. I know it's not a pretty number, but the guy had 68 stolen bases, and the team sucks. Why are they putting him back in AAA?
Well, I don't understand the fact that he played 132 games last year, and they just feel the need now to bring him down if they really felt that notion. I don't get it. I don't get it at all.
I'm fucking mad. I fucking hate the Athletics front office, dude. Like, because you know it came from them too. You know it did.
Mhm.
It didn't come from the managerial staff didn't come together and decide this. It came from the front office, and that's what's even fucking worse.
Do you think it came from the front office, or do you think it came from ownership?
Ownership. That's what I'm meaning by front office.
John Fisher. No, there's a lot of conspiracy theories going around about why he's not on the team.
Tell me those conspiracy theories. You were talking about it.
Yeah, I mentioned it to you guys this morning, but okay. So there's a brand called the Last Dive Bar. They're trying to say that Oakland Coliseum is the last dive bar in the MLB because while it's just a mess there, it's their home, it's their crap hole. But first I'll say the story. They worked with the Athletics for a few years as commissioned for merchandise. Like I know that random teams have done that with like hiring a graphic designer that like they see on Twitter or something like that. They worked with them for merchandise and graphics for a few years. It was called the Last Dive Bar. And they got a letter from MLB because they started doing some boycotting stuff. The Athletics got a letter from MLB because the Last Dive Bar was doing some boycotting stuff and saying stuff about sell the team, saying stay in Oakland, which they're lifelong Oakland fans, these people who run Last Dive Bar. And MLB said they don't want the A's to be associated with a boycotting company, and they weren't happy with their business with them. So instead of just making right and saying, hey, we're just terminating it, they just ghosted Last Dive Bar, the organization, their front office, their ownership group. They just completely ghosted their brand, completely ghosted them. And now in the past, because players were wearing these wristbands they got last year when they officially announced they're moving to Vegas, they got bracelets that said the Last Dive Bar. And First, every picture that a player was wearing those on social media has been deleted. So any athletics social media where that logo on their wrist that says the last dive bar is on, it got deleted. And there are 4 players. Esteury Ruiz, Brent Rooker got benched like early on, even though he wasn't having great numbers, but that was an example used. Christian Pache was wearing the bracelet last year. At the end of the year, got traded in the offseason. James Caprillion was known for wearing that a lot. He got released. They're thinking because they're just representing this brand. That's what people online are thinking. And then, like, it's crazy to think that they might actually be doing this for these reasons.
It's kind of like they're doing like a fuck you to the owners for like all this shit, and they're getting crazy repercussions for it that nobody's talking about.
Exactly.
And like that's what's even more fucked up. Like somebody's got to do something. Like where's the MLBPA? Like seriously.
If it actually comes out that those notions are true, then I feel like there definitely has to be some sort of repercussions. But who knows?
I mean, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but it's making a lot of sense. But
Yeah,
what do you think, Will?
It's plausible knowing the history of
Yeah.
John Fisher. Do you actually think it's a possibility that this could be true?
I honestly do. I mean, the fact that they deleted all the Instagram and Twitter posts where all the images of the bracelet were in for each of these players that they had up before, it's kind of crazy to me. And the fact that right after these players, and like there was pictures from opening day of Esteury Ruiz wearing that, and then gone.
It's awful. What do you think about it?
Will? I don't know if I can fully buy into that theory. Fully. Like I can see it being true. Especially knowing some of the things about John Fisher that I do. I mean, for example, the current Oakland mayor has tried to get in contact with him numerous times about keeping the team in Oakland, and they've spoken once, and he never returns any of her calls or emails.
That's crazy.
I mean, you can't even get them to move to Las Vegas without botching everything that's going on. I mean, they don't even know where they're going to be playing next year.
That's so embarrassing, dude.
Actually incompetent, and he's not even competent at running the business that has given his family wealth. First of all, he didn't make his family's fortune. The generation did. They own the Gap, right?
Oh, so wasn't worth it the Gap? Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
And John Fisher is absolutely destroying the Gap as a brand. Like no one wears the Gap anymore, dude.
No.
It's a classic brand with great jeans, great quality clothing, and he's ruined it. So he's ruined the Gap, and he's ruining the Oakland Athletics.
Oh my goodness.
Come on, bro. Figure it out.
Right. Well, it's
what
like
a piece of shit.
The one thing, it's like if you really don't care about these teams, then this team and just trying to just sell it. How much money will you make? All these horrible, like the Hornets.
That's the thing. He's banking on the fact that he can move this team successfully to Las Vegas and then make more, like a lot more profit than if he were.
Oh my gosh.
And it's awful because he will, because it's gonna fucking work, and that's the worst part about it.
I don't know if it's gonna work. I really don't.
Dude, the powers that be want this to happen more than anything else. It's gonna work.
You saw how
it's gonna work.
You see how successful the Golden Knights are. They
have that was an expansion team.
I know.
Raiders,
not an expansion team, but they had everything in place. Like they built a beautiful stadium.
That's the thing I agree with. There's nothing in place. That's the thing that's right now. If they really want to play next year at some sort of AAA ballpark because of this, like that's not a solution.
Yeah, it's not. It's the MLB Players Association won't allow that. You can't have them going to minor league facilities as pros, dude. That's not okay.
I remember they had it. It's not. That's the thing. It's like when the Blue Jays had to play in Florida, and then when they had to play in Buffalo,
right?
There was like major renovations done just for them to be able to play there. Can you see the Oakland ownership even just jumping and doing that? No.
Great point.
No. They're not going to make these adjustments. And then, like you say, too, it's going to be the sort of situation where MLBPA can jump in.
It's an absolute mess, and it's embarrassing for the league. It truly is. Like,
But
You
like
see the
if you
thing with the. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say like this. There's nothing like this across all the other major sports. There's nothing a situation where like you see a home field with this less talent at this point of where we are right now in professional sports with no fans. None of this. This is a one trick pony or one person, one organization like this.
And so, do you see the A's fans that were like protesting going into the game, even though they bought tickets,
yeah,
and just like watch the
Yeah.
game on like a jumbotron thing that they blow up?
they do have fans. They just
Yeah.
look like they have fans because why would you show up to support that? Whatever's going on there. I mean, yeah, you want to support the players, but I'm not going to spend my money on John Fisher's team. And then I don't know, like two, that ballpark's always going to look empty, even if they have like 30,000 people there. Because I don't know what the capacity is, but that place is huge.
It's like 60 something because it was
Yeah.
football. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Imagine if that place was packed fully for a baseball game.
I've seen
It has. That's the thing. It's all the playoffs those years.
Right, if you look at the pictures from, I mean, even more recently, like 2018, I don't know,
Mhm.
even like 4 years.
2019 they were competitive. 2020 made the playoffs. 2019 they were still competitive in that years.
Right. But if you look at pictures from when they had the Bash brothers, like Canseco, McGuire, Ricky Henderson, like the late 80s, early 90s teams, that place was packed during the regular season. Like
They won 97 games in 2019.
right. They've been good.
Jesus.
Right. If you put a good product on the field, if you invested in the infrastructure, like made a new ballpark, I'm sure people would show up.
Mhm.
And you have a ballpark there already. It's big as fuck. Like you can shrink the field size down a little bit, put a bullpen in a normal spot so it's not on the
Yeah.
field, and like you just make it like a cool experience. Like you don't, like you said, like you don't have to move it to Vegas.
No,
Like
you
don't have. You can put a parking garage in that bitch if you wanted to. Like
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but that place has got to get knocked down. Like if
It's
they're
no, yeah. They would have to do wonders to make that place new.
yeah,
Like look like new.
but I mean, I don't know. It's kind of
It's sad. It's a football stadium.
Yeah.
It's a football stadium in a baseball field, and it's a very old one at that best.
we're all gonna miss it though when it's gone.
Oh my gosh, I was there in 2014. And it was sick. The way the one cool thing I always noticed was if you go down by the dugouts, if you go a little left, the players will literally walk up by like a rotunda and round a corner. So like you could stand like as the players are walking like next to you, like going up.
Oh,
That's where that's where Rendon got like grabbed. Yeah, yeah, last year. But it's like little things like that they don't have at other parks. And I think it's gonna be very
unique
unique
for
and
sure.
different,
Mhm.
but also a shithole.
So that about wraps it up for this episode. Are there any closing thoughts that either of you guys have about the upcoming week or what's been going on this past week?
I say Shane Bieber looks disgusting. That's all I'll say. He has looked insane to start the year, and
Good for
I'm
him.
excited to see healthy Bieber because we haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Guardians, Jose Ramirez kind of like a little sparky right now,
Yeah,
Well,
low
Dimitri,
key.
the pick looks a little good right now. We'll see. We'll see. They're gonna
What about
trade,
you?
so I don't know.
oh my gosh, if they trade, oh my gosh, oh boy.
But that wraps up. That wraps it up. We'll get this out tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah, see you guys
Later.